What would you do if you discovered that one of the most controversial figures in history hides secrets capable of transforming your view of the world? Sounds like an absurd idea, right? But that's exactly what we are about to explore. Baphomet, often surrounded by myths and misunderstandings, holds an occult wisdom that few dare to unravel. We're not just talking about esotericism or occultism, but a deep dive into pacts, rituals, and entities that challenge traditional beliefs. Get ready to break paradigms, understand the supernatural in a unique way, and discover how Gnosticism and the invocation of this figure can reveal hidden truths. The origin of Baphomet is shrouded in mystery, an enigma that dates back to medieval texts. Long before it became a symbol of modern occultism, it was mentioned as a mystical entity in the accounts of the Knights Templar. This name, often associated with the supernatural, first appeared in accusatory records during the inquisitorial trials, where it was claimed that the Templars participated in secret rituals involving pacts with demons. But was there any truth to these accusations? History suggests that much of what we know has been shaped by fear and misinformation. It's fascinating to imagine how many secrets still remain hidden. Over the centuries, Baphomet came to be seen as a multifaceted symbol, accumulating meanings that reflected the cultural and spiritual transformations of humanity. From medieval iconography to appropriation by esoteric societies, the figure evolved as an archetype of duality. Think about it, how does such a controversial concept persist over time? Perhaps because it embodies not only occultism, but humanity's eternal quest for understanding. By exploring Gnosticism, Baphomet ceases to be a demon in the Christian sense and becomes a metaphor for spiritual enlightenment. How many other symbols carry such deep messages? Interestingly, a closer examination of the early records reveals that the name Baphomet may stem from a linguistic corruption or a coded message. Some suggest it is a combination of Muhammad, or an inversion of Kabbalistic symbols. In any case, its presence in texts is remarkably ambiguous. The Knights Templar, accused of worshipping this idol, vehemently denied the claims. However, the use of the name in pacts and modern esoteric rituals shows how the figure has been reinterpreted. Perhaps the lesson here is that interpretations are as powerful as the beliefs that give them life. Imagine what it would have been like to live in the Middle Ages, an era full of superstitions and fears about the supernatural. In this context, Baphomet became a political and religious tool to destroy the reputation of the Templars. But what is even more intriguing is how the idea persisted, crossing through the ages. It's as if there is something in Baphomet that touches the depths of the collective unconscious. Today, it represents a personal journey, a call to explore inner mysteries. Isn't it curious how something so ancient still resonates with the most contemporary human issues? An interesting point is that, instead of being forgotten, Baphomet became solidified in modern culture as an emblem of rebellion. What began as a baseless accusation of idolatry transformed into an icon for those who challenge conventions. This evolution demonstrates how meanings can be recreated. After all, what prevents an entity accused of being demonic from becoming a symbol of self-knowledge and transformation? Perhaps the real question is, why are we so drawn to what we cannot explain? This is where reflection becomes just as important as learning. Beyond the Templars, Baphomet's iconography found echoes in other esoteric movements throughout the centuries. During the Renaissance, for example, similar symbols appeared in grimoires, which detailed rituals and invocations. Imagine opening one of these ancient books, like the Book of Abramelin, and finding formulas that promise contact with the supernatural. Fascinating or frightening? Either way, it reinforces how Baphomet became more than just a name, but an evolving concept. It connects different eras, showing that sometimes, what seems lost in the past is still alive in surprising forms. As Baphomet's roots delve into the darkness of history, its journey remains an example of how symbols transcend time. Like other archetypes of the occult, it is a mirror of human anxieties and aspirations. Perhaps that is what makes it so fascinating. Each era projects its doubts, hopes, and fears onto it. If esotericism teaches us anything, it is that meanings are not fixed, but fluid, just like our perception of the world. And so, we approach the symbolic richness that will be explored in the next topic, the vast universe of interpretations. The symbolism of Baphomet is a true masterpiece of complexity, capable of challenging even the most open minds. The figure, often depicted as a fusion of man and animal, carries elements that refer to duality, light and darkness, masculine and feminine, spirit and matter. In the context of Gnosticism, this image symbolizes the quest for divine wisdom, personified in Sophia. It's intriguing how, behind its grotesque appearance, resides a profound message about balance and harmony. After all, how often do we judge the outside without seeking what lies hidden in deeper layers? One of the most fascinating aspects is how the name Baphomet has been interpreted through cryptography, particularly the use of the Atbash technique. When decoded, the name is linked to Sophia, a personification of divine wisdom in Gnostic texts. Think about it, a name that was considered an insult concealed a direct connection to higher knowledge. This discovery is a powerful lesson on how what seems confusing at first glance may, in fact, contain hidden truths. Have you ever wondered how many everyday enigmas could be solved with a shift in perspective? Baphomet's iconography includes symbolic elements that speak directly to the soul. The caduceus on its abdomen, for instance, refers to the balance of spiritual forces, while the torch between its horns symbolizes illumination. These details are not merely decorative, they teach us that spiritual evolution requires a balance between opposites. Imagine applying this concept to everyday life, finding balance between work and rest, emotion and reason. It's a message as practical as it is profound. How would your life change if every choice was guided by a greater sense of harmony? Many believe that the meaning of Baphomet is purely esoteric, but it also reflects deeply human concerns. The idea of duality is universal: day and night, joy and sorrow, creation and destruction. In occultism, it teaches us that we cannot achieve enlightenment without embracing both the light and the shadow within us. This resonates with modern practices like shadow therapy, which explores our fears and insecurities to promote growth. In this way, Baphomet becomes more than a symbol, it is a guide to self-acceptance and transformation. Curiously, some scholars see Baphomet as a reference to alchemy, where the transmutation of lead into gold serves as a metaphor for spiritual evolution. Its hybrid body is a reminder that true transformation occurs in the fusion of extremes. In practical terms, this can be applied to personal development by integrating opposing skills, like creativity and logic. Have you considered how exploring these dualities might expand your possibilities? This is Baphomet in action, an invitation to go beyond the limitations imposed by rigid concepts. Baphomet's symbolism also challenges traditional religious conventions, often depicting it as a demonic entity. However, for occultists, it represents spiritual freedom and the power to question imposed norms. It's a provocation that encourages us to reevaluate our beliefs. Think about it, how many of your opinions were inherited without question? By adopting a Gnostic approach, you open yourself to exploring new levels of understanding, challenging the status quo, and finding truths that truly resonate with you. This richness of interpretations reinforces that Baphomet is a living symbol, always adaptable to the context and spiritual needs of those who contemplate it. Its roots in Gnosticism and occultism show us that knowledge is not linear, but a labyrinth filled with unexpected revelations. By studying its symbols and messages, we open doors to a deeper understanding of the supernatural and of ourselves. This is where the transition to the next topic becomes natural, as we now explore how Baphomet has been at the center of historical controversies that have shaped its current image. The history of Baphomet is marked by controversies that, over the centuries, have shaped its reputation as a symbol of the occult. During the trials of the Knights Templar, it was used as a key piece in accusations of heresy. The Church claimed that the Templars worshipped a demonic idol, engaging in forbidden pacts and rituals. However, modern historians suggest that these accusations were political tools to destroy the order and confiscate its wealth. Imagine the impact of this, an entity used as a weapon in a power game. Isn't it surprising how symbols can be manipulated to serve hidden interests? The confessions of the Templars, obtained under torture, included reports of worshipping a mysterious head, described as Baphomet. But was this an invention of the Inquisitors or a hidden truth? Some argue that the alleged idol could have been a metaphor for secret knowledge, aligned with the Gnostic quest for enlightenment. Esotericism often hides behind ambiguous symbols, and Baphomet might be one of these cases. If you think about it, how many times has something that seems absurd at first glance hidden something much deeper? Perhaps that's exactly what it symbolizes, an invitation to the mystery. The use of Baphomet as a tool for persecution demonstrates how the fear of the supernatural can be politically exploited. The Church needed a scapegoat, ironic, isn't it, to justify its repression, and Baphomet was the chosen one. This narrative echoes even today, where conspiracy theories use symbols like this to reinforce agendas of control and manipulation. This raises an important question: are we willing to investigate the truth behind symbols, or do we prefer to accept what we're told? In a world full of misinformation, seeking knowledge becomes a revolutionary act. Baphomet's connection with the Templars became a reference point for its interpretation in popular culture and occultism. However, it is essential to remember that many of these historical accounts lack concrete evidence. When we analyze the records, we realize that Baphomet was more of a construction of fear than a spiritual truth for the Templars. The image of dark rituals involving pacts and invocations was amplified by the imagination of inquisitors. But was all of this just a historical mistake, or is there something deeper behind the accusations? The mystery continues to spark curiosity. History teaches us that symbols like Baphomet are often shaped by the needs of those who use them. For the Templars, perhaps it represented something entirely different from what was alleged. For the Church, it became a means of exerting power and suppressing dissent. Modern occultism, however, has redefined Baphomet as a figure of wisdom and transformation. This shows how historical context can completely alter the meaning of a symbol. If you had a personal symbol, how would it be reinterpreted in different eras? This reflection brings us closer to the essence of Baphomet. The historical controversies also offer a valuable lesson. What is considered taboo in one era can transform into a symbol of freedom in another. The use of Baphomet to accuse the Templars shows how societies deal with what they don't understand. And today, when we look at it through an esoteric lens, we see something very different from what the Inquisitors portrayed. This teaches us that true knowledge requires patience and curiosity. Have you ever questioned how today's taboos might be re-evaluated in the future? This is the true essence of symbolic evolution. As we conclude the analysis of the historical controversies, it is impossible not to notice how they contributed to the myth of Baphomet. The stories of pacts, rituals, and demonic worship created an aura that continues to inspire debates. However, the most important thing is not only to understand these controversies but to use them as a starting point to explore the ideas of transformation and duality that Baphomet represents in modern occultism. Now that you know its historical roots, it's time to dive deeper into its esoteric significance, where Baphomet becomes a true spiritual archetype. In occultism, Baphomet is a symbol of profound spiritual meaning, popularized by the iconic image created by Eliphas Levi in the 19th century. Represented as a hybrid figure with wings, horns, and both human and animal elements, it encapsulates the idea of duality. Levi described Baphomet as a symbol of universal balance, a bridge between the material and spiritual worlds. For those who seek esotericism as a path of self-knowledge, it is not merely an idol, but an invitation to internal transformation. How do you perceive duality in your life? Perhaps it's time to embrace it to evolve. Eliphas Levi went beyond a mere drawing. He incorporated alchemical concepts into his representation of Baphomet. The pentagram on its forehead symbolizes mastery over the elements of nature, while the torch between the horns represents illumination. This image was also adapted by Aleister Crowley in his teachings of Thelema, where Baphomet symbolizes individual freedom and spiritual union. It's interesting to observe how great thinkers have used this archetype to convey complex ideas. Have you ever thought about how symbols can be tools for transformation? This is the legacy that Baphomet leaves in modern occultism. In the esoteric context, Baphomet represents the fusion of opposites, masculine and feminine, sky and earth, light and shadow. This concept is fundamental in traditions like alchemy and Hermeticism, where the integration of polarities is seen as a path to enlightenment. For modern practitioners, this can be applied in simple practices, such as meditation, to harmonize conflicting aspects of the psyche. Have you tried meditating while visualizing a perfect balance between your desires and responsibilities? This is a practical example of how to bring the symbolism of Baphomet into everyday life. Aleister Crowley redefined Baphomet within his teachings of Thelema, promoting the idea that it symbolized spiritual freedom and the courage to explore unknown territories. Crowley also associated it with the concept of true will, encouraging followers to seek their deeper purposes. For those who study occultism, Baphomet is a guide to go beyond the limitations imposed by society. It is a reminder that the spiritual journey requires both self-knowledge and courage. What's stopping you from exploring the limits of your potential? Perhaps Baphomet has a lesson for you. The esoteric meaning of Baphomet also serves as a gateway to understanding the symbolism in rituals and pacts. In occult traditions, it is invoked as a symbol of protection and power. Some practices include using its image as a focus for meditation or in invocation rituals to balance energies. If you're interested in experimenting, start with a simple visualization practice, imagining the balance between opposites in your life. Complexity is not necessary, the power of occultism lies in intention. After all, what matters is the connection you establish with the symbol. Baphomet's role in modern occultism also reflects the evolution of esotericism as an individualized practice. While it was once seen as a demonic idol, today it is understood as an archetype of self-discovery and enlightenment. It reminds us that the supernatural is not outside of us, but within, waiting to be discovered. For those who study Gnosticism and occultism, this is an essential lesson. Have you ever wondered how you can bring more balance to your own spiritual journey? Baphomet teaches us that the answer lies in integrating the parts of ourselves we tend to ignore. The influence of Baphomet in occultism leads us to reflect on the role of symbols in our spiritual life. It serves as a reminder that esoteric knowledge is both a challenge and a gift. As we dive into its meanings, we are invited to rethink our beliefs and seek a deeper connection with the universe. This connection is not easy, but it doesn't have to be. Every step on the esoteric path brings us closer to balance and truth. With this solid foundation, we are ready to explore how Baphomet has been culturally reinterpreted over time. Baphomet, throughout the ages, has found new cultural interpretations that have transcended the circles of occultism. One of the most notable was its adoption by the Church of Satan, founded by Anton LaVey, where the symbol became an icon of rebellion and individual freedom. For LaVey and his followers, Baphomet represented the emancipation from religious norms and personal empowerment. It is fascinating how such a controversial symbol can become an emblem of resistance. After all, how many times in life do we encounter the need to break free from patterns that no longer serve us? Baphomet is a reflection of this boldness. In contemporary culture, Baphomet has also become a central character in conspiracy theories. Some believe that its image is associated with secret societies controlling world power, appearing in movies, music, and events as an allegory of manipulation. This view, although often exaggerated, reflects a collective fear of the unknown and the supernatural. Think about it, why do ancient symbols still evoke such fascination and fear? It's because they touch on something primal within us, a mix of reverence and fear for what we cannot control or fully understand. The influence of Baphomet in popular media is evident in various works of fiction, from TV shows to comic books. Characters that evoke its iconography often symbolize mystery and hidden power, exploring the duality between heroes and villains. These portrayals often decontextualize the original meaning but demonstrate the ongoing cultural impact of the symbol. Consider films like The Name of the Rose, which allude to medieval mysticism, or even video games where Baphomet is associated with complex puzzles. These examples show how the symbol has transcended its original meanings to become a pop icon. Another interesting aspect is how artistic movements have redefined Baphomet as a symbol of freedom of expression. In modern and contemporary art, it is frequently used to challenge social, religious, and political structures. Artists use it to question dogmas and celebrate individuality. A notable example is the statue of Baphomet with children, installed by the Satanic Temple in the United States as an act of provocation and defense of the separation of church and state. These artistic acts make us think, how can symbols be used to broaden debates and provoke necessary reflections? Globalization has also influenced the spread of Baphomet as a multifaceted symbol. On social media, it is often shared as an icon of counterculture, embraced by young people seeking to break free from traditional norms. This shows how the internet has democratized access to occultism, allowing ideas once restricted to esoteric circles to become part of the mainstream. The irony is that, while some view it as threatening, others see it as liberating. It is a living proof of how cultural interpretation is subjective and adaptable to changes in time and context. Even outside the spiritual realm, Baphomet has become a powerful metaphor for exploring human complexity. It represents the tension between our most primal impulses and our highest aspirations. In literary and philosophical works, its figure is used to symbolize the internal struggle for self-acceptance. An example of this can be found in Goethe's Faust, where pacts and supernatural entities represent the human dilemma between desire and morality. These cultural uses remind us that symbols like Baphomet carry timeless truths about the human condition. The constant reinterpretation of Baphomet in popular and esoteric culture reflects our need to explore the unknown and challenge the status quo. It has transcended the mere image to become a fluid idea, adaptable to times and contexts. Just as culture redefines its meaning, we can also reinterpret the challenges and dualities we face. By understanding these changes, we can look toward the next facet of Baphomet, its representation as a spiritual and alchemical metaphor, guiding us in the search for inner transformation. Baphomet is a vibrant metaphor for the spiritual journey and alchemical transformation. Its image, a fusion of opposites, symbolizes the process of unification and transcendence. In alchemy, the transmutation of lead into gold is a symbolic representation of spiritual evolution, where gold is the enlightened soul. Baphomet embodies this idea, showing that we can only achieve wholeness by integrating all parts of ourselves. Think, which aspects of your life are in conflict? By confronting these dualities, you begin your own internal alchemy, turning challenges into opportunities for growth. The torch between Baphomet's horns symbolizes the light of knowledge, essential for guiding the soul through the darkness of ignorance. This is an invitation to embrace Gnosticism and explore the hidden wisdom that lies beyond superficial appearances. In practice, this might mean dedicating time to studying philosophical and spiritual texts. Books like the Emerald Tablet or Corpus Hermeticum offer insights into the alchemical journey. How could you begin bringing more light into your everyday life? Perhaps a simple habit of daily reflection could be the first step. In spiritual alchemy, the integration of opposites symbolized by Baphomet is fundamental. This can be seen in the concept of solve et coagula, dissolve and coagulate. In practice, this means deconstructing old limiting beliefs and rebuilding them on more solid foundations. Think about how your difficult experiences can be transformed into learning. For instance, a professional failure might lead to a new opportunity you would have never considered. Baphomet teaches us that chaos is just a necessary stage in creating something greater and more harmonious. Baphomet's role as a mediator between the earthly and the celestial makes it a powerful figure in Hermetic traditions. It reminds us that true transformation occurs in the balance between the physical and the spiritual. In practice, this can be achieved through rituals that connect body and mind, such as yoga or conscious breathing practices. These methods help align energies, creating a state of inner harmony. If you've never tried, how about starting with 5 minutes of deep breathing every day? It's a small step with significant impact. Baphomet's teachings also invite us to question rigid morality, challenging norms that hinder our growth. It reminds us that the path to enlightenment is not linear but full of nuances. This metaphor applies to any personal journey. For example, instead of seeing mistakes as failures, we can understand them as part of the learning process. Imagine looking at your past mistakes with compassion and realizing how much they have taught you. This is the essence of alchemical transformation, to see value even in what seems negative. Baphomet, as an alchemical symbol, also reflects universal balance. It reminds us that the macrocosm and the microcosm are connected. This idea inspires us to look within when seeking external answers. Instead of searching for solutions outside of ourselves, consider how your own energy and intention can shape your reality. A simple exercise is to practice daily gratitude. By recognizing what you already have, you adjust your energy to attract more abundance. This practice doesn't require much time, but it is deeply transformative. Finally, the spiritual and alchemical metaphor of Baphomet reminds us that the process of transformation never ends. It is an ongoing journey of integration, balance, and enlightenment. Just as Baphomet transcends categories and definitions, we too can free ourselves from the limitations imposed by society or ourselves. With this understanding, we are ready to apply these concepts to practical life. What steps will you take to bring more balance and transformation into your journey? Now, let's reflect on all of this and consolidate the learning into an inspiring conclusion. Did you realize that Baphomet is more than just a symbol? It is a guide, a silent teacher that helps us embrace our dualities, seek hidden wisdom, and transform our lives. Now, I ask, which parts of you are waiting to be integrated? What are you postponing due to fear or doubt? Remember, true enlightenment begins when we face our own mysteries. If this knowledge has touched your soul, leave the keyword transformation in the comments to activate the energy of change in your life. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue diving into esotericism and the supernatural. Together, let's explore the secrets of the universe.